Yeah. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Sustainiacs and Universal Benevolence. You be the solution. Really, this one crosses both because she is Kimberly Haley-Coleman. And it says here that you are the founder and CEO of several businesses that help people do and feel good, which I have found to be very, very true. The pictures on your post or on your LinkedIn site and stuff are amazing. People smiling all over the world. Welcome to the show, Kimberly. I'm so glad to have you on.
Oh, Michael, thank you so much for having me. I really do appreciate it.
Hey, that's not how we practice it. You're supposed to like say, "You're the best, Michael. I love you
You
so
are the
much."
best,
All
no
right,
doubt
there we go.
about it.
Woohoo! See, now I'm feeling good. Oh my goodness. So how have you been? What are you doing? Tell people about yourself. What's going on here? You
Well,
you there's several companies now. The one you wait a minute now. I screwed that up. The first company I founded is Globalware, which is the one, and that's from you writing on LinkedIn. And that's the one that caught my attention was Globalware. What do you do? Is that the most current one, or are
well,
all of
no,
them
and
still
actually,
in?
it's the other one that people will often raise their eyebrows about. But we so Globalware, we do basically adventures in service all over the world, right? There are these 1 week short term service projects, and the reason I even ever started the other one was because it turns out that closing borders during COVID isn't really good for travel overseas. So back to your point of joy. I was really looking for how do I create jobs and joy in this environment. And so so the next company was really about that. And I really thought it'd be a pop up business, but it's still going on. So you just don't always know how things are going to roll. You just go with where your mission is pointed, and then really try and with a concrete impact and having good intentions. How do you make something sustainable and work? And so fortunately, both of those have been that. But globalware has been my primary focus for the last 25 years or so.
Yeah, that's what I thought. It is the primary business that you're focusing on. So, what does Globalware do? What is it? I mean, it's a great name. It caught me because I was like, oh, that's got to be sustainability, but it's so much more than that. I mean, sustainability is something you're impacting, but you're really
Yeah.
doing much, much,
Uh,
much bigger work, right?
Very keyed in with sustainability because we're really not about handouts. It's really about handshakes, building projects in and with, not for our communities with what they want and projects that can sustain them after we've left. Although we do continually, our programs, since they're going on pretty much every other week throughout the year, we have a maintained presence. So some people would call this a type of tourism. We don't really see it as tourism. Although there are common components. So, really, what it's about is someone deciding they want to go and serve short term overseas. They pick the date and the place they want to go, and then we make it sort of plug and play. They show up without any specific skills or background or training, and they work side by side with our teams there carrying out these projects in a way that's really meant to allow our volunteers to see something from a non-consumerist perspective. We're not just there, taking pictures and going to churches and museums but we're engaging with the local communities, and again on projects that are important to them. And these really vary considerably. So, in Guatemala, where we're installing concrete floors in the homes of single moms, these are usually young women with children where they've built some kind of home with whatever refuse and scraps they can find on the open earth, and they're not able to clean. You can't bleach the floors when you've got soil as your floor. So we're trying to do really tangible projects that we can finish in a week, that a local community has said, please stand with us to help us make this happen. And they vary. We're building Adobe Lorena stoves in Peru, where it takes a whole lot less fuel to keep that fire going. So it helps with combating deforestation. It pulls the smoke out of the homes so that the people living within them are getting a lot less smoke in their lungs and allowing them to pull their cooking service up off of the ground. So, anyway, they all are very different, but they do also incorporate cultural and leisure activities throughout the week. As we know, somebody's not going to want to travel all this way for a week and not also see the glorious cultural things there are. So it's all a really melded experience where you're serving, you're experiencing the local culture and connecting and engaging in a way that will hopefully change your perspective when you go home in terms of empowerment and impact and ethical travel, how travel dollars can perpetuate extractive tourism or drive a virtuous cycle. So it's really these dignity driven, locally prioritized projects that drive what we do.
That is so interesting and so cool. When I read about it, it volunteer vacations, right? Mobilizing 1 week volunteer vacations, and then when you explain it, it makes so much sense to do that because it for several reasons, right? You could attract so many more people to the missions of actually helping these cultures, right? And helping them move forward. The mission work, right? That people usually go to and travel and they come back and go, yeah, I was in Guatemala for, 2 weeks. Didn't see anything except, the jungle and people living on dirt floors, right? But you get to experience everything else that is going on that you would go for tourism. It's just how beautiful the place is. Is that kind of was the idea to really get people to understand the value of what they're doing, right? Rather than just uplifting some people saying, look, these are beautiful places in the world that have needs, and getting in
Right.
there and doing that really uplifts everybody there.
Yeah, so there were a couple of missions that are really drive what we do. One is promoting cultural awareness, and one is promoting sustainability. Those are the two things that every activity has to do with, and we have what I feel are very specific definitions for that. So for us, promoting cultural awareness means those real beauties and the real challenges
Right.
of a local community. So, the fact that real beauty in Guatemala, for example, that local community members are spending a whole lot of time with their friends, their family, their God, their faith, relative to someone from the North America. But they might have a really long distance or inability to pay for any health care. That's a real challenge, right? Not that they
Yeah.
don't all have cell phones. And so we're driven by those two things. Now, when we have the kinds of volunteers that come on our programs are varied. I mean, we have people and families and individuals that just sign up to serve on our programs. And then we have companies where they will allow their staff to use their contribution matching or volunteer paid days off.
Oh
And so
wow.
they will sign up using that non-taxable benefit that their employer provides, often knowing less what they're going into because it was presented as something you could just sign up for without having a whole lot of background. And which, I mean, look, that's what we specialize in. We assume if people are going to show up not speaking the language, not knowing if they can drink the water. We have, of course, podcasts, YouTube channels, orientation. We have all that. But we know that people are busy and don't always read that. So
Yeah,
we
they're going to be
have yeah,
unprepared.
so we have people who come without really knowing much, and we're designed for that just show up, don't hesitate, this is an adventure. Everything will be taken care of, since we have to first and foremost only work in places where we can provide medical insurance and liability insurance and all that. We're designed to have that plug and play, just show up, and we know it'll change your life. I mean, it's really a kind of conscious capitalism on how your dollar shapes your world, but it's also about that joy and fundamentally appealing to that part of our soul that makes us humans. So, but yeah, the two main missions are about sustainability and cultural awareness. Those are the two
Those
biggies.
are amazing. It's amazing because you're taking, when you see the sign when you walk into a forest or something like that, or you go to the beach, it says "Leave it better than you found it." Right? I mean, you've taken that to a whole new level, right? You're going to go on a vacation, you're going to leave it better than then you found it, right? I mean,
Right.
that's kind of the idea.
While we may be building walls and roofs and libraries, we also do a lot of scale projects. And it's really building perspective, right? I mean, that's what's happening in the minds of our volunteers. So our hands are busy, but it's our minds that are probably undergoing the biggest shift, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense. So you mentioned that there's only two right now. So I mean, you this is not a random thing. It's not like I could pick anywhere in the world and you're going to do this.
Well,
You
we
have
have
specific
26
places, right?
countries where we work, and
Oh
all of
wow!
those are open year round.
Oh
So
wow!
if you said, hey, I want to go to Cuba or Laos, Cambodia, Vietnam, South Africa, you just go to our website and pick the date that works for you. And they're all, with the exception of Galapagos, where we're working with wildlife and we're working with the local national park system. So we've got a training that we have to go through. So that one's 2 weeks. But all of the rest are 6 nights, 7 days, designed to be digestible for that busy working North American who doesn't have 6 weeks vacation, who can't take 27 months off to do the Peace Corps, or who may not be a doctor, can't do Doctors Without Borders or Engineers Without Borders. Obviously, there are plenty of churches that do really great work. They often work with a community like a church in Uganda where they have that ongoing relationship. And we definitely think that if you already have that community established, that's a really great place to start in the communities that you already know and love, and serving alongside them. So there, you know, infinite ways of serving. And by the way, obviously serving first and foremost in the community, your home community, we think is the most important. And not everyone will be able to spend $1,300 to go to Costa Rica to serve, and we understand that. Obviously, serving in your local community is is just as important, and if not more so.
Yeah, this is yeah, right. I get that because in my work, what I do, I certainly don't want to pull away from something that's already a good cause and put it over. I don't want to
Right.
rob Peter to pay Paul, so to speak. Right? You don't want to do that type of stuff. This is for those who are ready to do more
Right.
and go out there more. Is this? I mean, it sounds like this is a great, almost like. And I don't want to say this in a derogatory way, but it's kind of like mission light, right? If you're thinking maybe I want to be a mission, this sounds like a great idea to dip your toe in the water, right? And kind of
Yeah.
go, do I want to do this, or let's go do this first, right? Is that fair to say?
Yeah, well, I agree with you. I would say that we have things in common with traditional mission work. One of the areas where we diverge is that we on our programs there's really no conversion happening. So we're there learning from the local culture as much as we are. So while there will be discussions about someone's religion or spiritual
Yeah,
focus,
that's not the main
it's
focus.
not. Yeah, it tends to be just a part of that, again, that human engagement of getting to know each other, and less about a change. um, so because we work with monks in Thailand, we work with nuns in Peru. There are different spiritual practices everywhere we work, and so we don't have um, any sort of church or political affiliation.
Right,
That said,
right,
we
and
have.
yeah, and that's kind of not what I was trying to. I guess I worded it wrong. This is if you want to go do this type of work, whether it be through religious mission work from your church or whatever it happens to be, or straight up just going to help and rebuild and that type of stuff.
That's right.
This gets you into the dirt of it and
Yeah,
the thick of it, the sausage making, if you will,
you're
but
right.
also gives you that time to go drink a mai tai on the beach.
Correct. And because a lot of church mission related work is similarly undertaking really, well executed projects, whether it's clean water systems or community centers or church, that it's really infrastructure for dignity and sustainability. And we do, yes, Yes, so we do have that, and it is a way. So for people to, if they're interested in serving short term, and maybe they're worried about, understandably, what are the risks going to be in a given place? If they haven't been to Southeast Asia, and they don't know what is the safety going to be like in the food, and what kinds of things do they need to look out for? We really, while someone can certainly step on a nail anywhere in the world or be hit by a car if they're not looking both ways, we try and eliminate as much of that risk as we can. And that
I
said,
love that.
that's
I
a
love
really
that.
important component of that, is that it means we're not necessarily serving everywhere there's urgent need. We are not in Somalia and Darfur and Afghanistan and Palestine. Even when there are real needs, it doesn't mean we can necessarily put our volunteers there, because we have a whole lot of people who bring their children, their siblings, their grandparents. It's a very multi-generational environment where
Yeah,
the
and that's
safety
why
has to be our driver.
yeah, and that's where I kind of meant that
Yeah,
it's not it's mission light almost in the
right.
fact that I mean you're dipping your toe in the water and doing it, but you're not hardcore like fighting off the rebels and stuff like that and trying to build a church that
That's
someone's
right.
trying to burn down at the exact same time, right?
That's right.
Or those type of stuff. That's really so. This is a safe alternative. You got to take my family on this, and we could do this and go. You know what? Let's get a little bit more professional about this and go on a more difficult one, or then we can understand if we want to go. Like I have a good friend. It became my good friend over the last like year at my church. His whole family they spend like a year and a half at a time in far western Mongolia in the middle of no place. Uh, in mining towns, building community centers and that type of stuff, and uh, modern heating because these people live
Mhm.
in like yurts, right? With like, and they're burning coal inside there, dying of lung cancer and all this other kind, because they got to stay warm as they're mining and that type of stuff. So building those, but this is tremendous stuff. This is
Yeah.
tremendous.
And I think for people who have that kind of time to give, that's going to have an even bigger impact. Being able to live for months at a time, because ours are definitely short term. And that said, it's amazing how that lived experience can teach really deep lessons in a way that's hard to do otherwise. And I'll give you an example. If we are, let's say, in Kenya, and we are mixing concrete, and we're having to carry water in buckets from across the street at a pump, that 6 year old, that 8 year old who's there with his dad volunteering, the first time he goes and gets water, he's kind of sloshing it around. And
Yeah,
then he
yeah.
sees all the local mamas there washing their babies in that water they've carried and boiling that water to drink it. And that 6 year old boy has now mixed the concrete and knows what hard work it is. That very next trip, he is being super careful with his water. And now he's seeing what it's like to live without running water all around him, even though our volunteers do live in accommodations that do have running water, electricity, and they're more mid-range accommodations. But then that 6 year old goes back home, and all of a sudden he's turning water off between brushing teeth because he's never thought about what a huge thing it is to have running water. You can lecture somebody, you can watch a movie about it, but somehow that feet on the ground project of living and seeing what it's like changes your brain in a way that is just hard to explain. And to
No,
me, that's where the magic is.
it totally makes sense because you've got to experience that in real hand because it's not real until you experience it. And with all the stimuli that we can intake now and instantly through the internet and other social media, etc., it really you hoped that it would make us more aware and more understanding, but in
Right.
many respects, it's made us more desensitized, hasn't it?
Yes. Yes, with all the social media and all the constant flow of everything, it does. Even though we feel like we are globalized, somehow it feels disconnected Yeah, that human interaction. I've told this story before, but really, I often thought with the projects where we're working with children that that moment of presenting something with or for a child would be the super magical thing, and it is, but even more magical has been looking at the eyes of the parents. And when we've given out wheelchairs to landmine victims in Cambodia, this is an example where I wasn't anticipating that connection to the parent
Right.
who has that those same hopes and fears for their child who has been maimed by landmine, that connection mother to mother that I didn't even have in my imagination until I lived it. How uh, how fundamentally it's just the essence of who we are as humans, as spiritual beings, and yeah, that is just something hard to replicate. And obviously there are many different ways to serve, and I think most people who've um, let themselves really serve know what we're talking about here in terms of it is really where we find so much meaning and joy, and sometimes just putting it on the calendar and doing it, whether it's helping a neighbor or a child, or in some way that we get so much from it. And it sounds like a platitude when we say we get more than we give in these situations, but we also know that it's true. And giving yourself those experiences, it's just such a favor. It in some ways a selfish act because you're going to get so much from it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, but that's okay. Selfish. Yeah, I made the argument years ago in college, and it took, I think, like three classes with the philosophy teacher that humans cannot perform anything that isn't selfish, and but that's not a bad thing because it is what makes you feel good is the important thing, right? And helping others and seeing that is what it is. And if I get a high out of going there and helping these people uplift their
Right.
life, fantastic. That's what it is, right? That's what feeds my spirit, like you said, feeds my soul, feeds my being, is to reach out and help others. That's what we want to foster. We want people to be selfish about that, right?
Yeah.
We want them to do that, and we lose that because we see it all the time. It's just like, oh, you see the hardship around the world through our media now all the time. So it's just like, oh, that's just normal. Well, no, it's we don't need that to be normalized, right? We need that to be shocking in a way, and going there and doing it yourself and seeing it firsthand makes that happen. Do
And the
you?
thrill and adventure that comes with it makes it sustainable because, as you say, it does still trigger a piece of selfishness for us so that it does continue. You're really trading in souvenirs for stewardship, becoming a part of something that will continue. Yeah. It's the kind of project and thing that does make our world better. So we feel really good about it, even though we know, look, this is the kind of travel. Once somebody does it, they keep doing it. And we know why. We know how it kind of lights a specific fire under you. And one of the interesting things, you know, most of our volunteers, when they come back, they're going to a different location instead of going back to the same one, with one exception. Our favorite weatherman, Don Germais, who keeps going back to the same location. And we know why he's doing that because it is a great project. But it is interesting because people are wanting to kind of collect those cultural competencies and engagement. So they're just adding a new one on each time. And that's one of
Are
the
they
reasons
earning like badges? Are they earning
we
like new
should do
badges?
that. We should have a little
Yeah,
passport, or we should
a
definitely do like a
passport
scout
for
style
sure. You can,
thing
yeah. Go
with
ahead.
a patch for each one or something. We should totally do that.
Absolutely, a passport for your stuff. I was going to ask you how many people come back, because we were talking about that selfish thing and stuff like that, and people are getting so much out of this
Yeah.
that it just sounds fantastic that they can do that and enjoy themselves doing it. That's what you're doing. You're making this such easier to go and get these things done, right?
Yeah.
So you get a lot of repeat
We get a
business.
lot of repeat business. And what will end up happening is that volunteers will come back, and the next time they'll go with two people from their book club, and the next time they're going to bring their neighbor, and the next time, we see a lot of that where somebody's like, well, I know who else would like this. So it's definitely a high touch word of mouth business. I mean, even though we have all the social media, in our world, it is high touch. And
Yeah.
if I knew a better way to incorporate AI into our business, maybe we do it. But so far, really, aside from, we have taken our orientation packets and made those into podcasts so people can basically listen to them. But aside from that, we're really high touch. We'll get phone calls with people saying, hey, I want to serve. I haven't ever done this kind of thing, but I'm really nervous. I don't know where to go. What should I do? And we will talk them through that. Have you ever traveled before? Do you have any special heritage or connection to a different place? Do you speak any other languages? If you haven't traveled outside of North America before, we usually wouldn't steer someone toward India for their first, it's just there's a big culture shift that might be a bigger shock. So those kinds of things are very a person to person and phone calls and emails. So, our industry is not changing quickly.
So, and you mentioned industry. Are there a lot of people doing this type of thing? This seems
Yeah.
really unique.
Habitat for Humanity obviously has been doing this in the United States, but they do have a global program. It's longer and, it's faith-based, although you do not have to be a Christian to participate.
Right.
And it is focused primarily on home construction, obviously. And
Yeah.
Doctors Without Borders and Engineers Without Borders have programs. They tend to be typically longer. There are organizations that exist to do this kind of thing that back when GlobalWare got started in the year 2000, tended to have 3 and 6 week minimums, which is part of why
Oh, wow. Okay.
I did the short term. I feel like they were primarily oriented for students that might have longer periods of free time available, particularly in the summer, than a typical working North American. Now, a lot of those organizations will do shorter programs now. And one of the bigger things we've seen rise is companies that really aren't running programs, they're marketing for someone else. So if that's important, it's just something to look out for. If when you show up, are you going to be talking to representatives of the company you've been talking to for a few weeks, or was it more of an advertising and marketing?
Oh, and you got handed off to somebody else or
Yeah,
something
like
like
you
that.
might,
Yeah.
yeah, and they're honestly good stories and bad stories in that regard, and some where it may not matter if there's something physical accomplished. Like there are a lot of organizations that go and help in schools with soft skills and have a more laid back approach in terms of having anything concrete finished at the end of it. And hey, all of that has its place. So there are other companies and organizations out there, and again, a lot of churches doing this kind of work. We certainly I think one of the things that makes GlobalWare unique, certainly the short time span and our typical volunteer.
Yeah.
Is our typical
Do you work with churches? Do you
We
have
do.
like institutional, like kind of customers, I guess
We
you
do.
do.
We have churches, schools, and corporations. Corporations are probably our biggest growing area, something that we didn't know to look for. But because of that ability to, if you're an employee at Facebook, Microsoft, Salesforce, companies that will do contribution matching.
Oh, yeah, 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 yeah.
So, and then there are a lot of growing companies that allow volunteer time off where you will get a few days to serve someone else and be paid your regular salary for that.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's tied to your length of service at a company. And I have to say, we really see a big um, ask for this in younger generations. Generation Z, that's important to them.
Oh, really?
They're actually asking for it. We're not seeing that expectation as much in boomers and Generation X, although growing awareness. So it's interesting the kinds of trends happening in the corporate landscape. And but what I like about it, that contribution matching, that VTO, it allows an employee to give where they want to give, right? Instead of just where a corporation has decided is their charitable arm. Gives a bit more flexibility and
Well,
personal.
the and it would appear to me that or it seems to me like this might be something that would be really really um, uh, exceptional for like a. I'm screwing around.
Uh-oh.
Guys.
Yeah, you're back on.
There we are. How about that? Does that
That's
sound
good.
good? All
That sounds good.
right. I'm just trying. I'm having so much problems with my stuff today. It's not even funny. Um,
And yet, look,
it's
you're still the
ridiculous.
greatest anyway. It's still working out.
Because
Bouncing right
I
back
could work
to
right
it.
through it. I could work right through it. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you don't even notice
That's
that I'm
right.
doing this stuff. What was I
But you're
saying?
right. These
Oh,
are highly personalized experiences. So by being able to give back in that way, if you're
yeah,
an employee at a company and say, hey, I don't really care about X, Y, and Z, but I do care about ABC, and that's what I want to do. So the companies that are letting their employees um, clue into their corporate responsibility programs in a way that speaks to them is another form of sustainability for that employer with the people as
yeah.
stakeholders in it. You know,
You do. I mean, I know so many. I know there's a company here that I know the founder of that here in Chattanooga that I mean they pride themselves on the fact that they're so multinational. They have like 32 fluently spoken languages in their company, right? And they fly the flags of everybody. Corporate retreats and that type of stuff for this
yeah,
seems like it would fit
yeah.
fantastic, right?
Yeah, and we do. So, when I mentioned earlier that we really kind of have two groups, two ways of working, and the one which we discussed, where somebody says, "Hey, I, Michael, have always wanted to go to Machu Picchu. I've always wanted to go to Peru. Hey, this might be a good way to do it. I'm going to go sign up in October when I have some time off." The other way is we'll get contacted by a company that does those kinds of corporate retreats and says, hey, we've got a group of 150, 250 people that want to go to Guatemala and build a school in November. Can you make this following date work for us? So we do kind of those tailored, customized projects for our corporate groups, churches, and
Wow.
schools. And then we have our everyday programs where people sign up for the dates that are already on the calendar, just like you would sign up for a cruise. You look at your time that you've got available in the country you want to go to.
So how? Okay, so when somebody like you said, the I mean, whether it's a custom tailored one or you have your regular ones, right? You have to be working with other organizations and other companies to support this, right? I mean, if somebody's paying $1,300 to go to wherever it happens to be or whatever the amount is, that's not. There's no way you're covering the cost of all the materials to do the work and their lodgings and all that other kind of stuff, right? I mean,
Well, we
there,
do, and that's part of what makes it
you
affordable, and it's a tax write off for the volunteer. Now, one
well, I
thing,
get that, but there's somebody on the other end that is coordinating this with you, right? I mean, are you 100%? We're
well,
finding
so
where the needs are. We're coordinating all the materials or everything, or do you have, you know,
yeah, so I'll
partner
give
company?
you an idea of how that works, and I should be super clear that it does not include airfare. We do not buy and sell airfare. That's a for-profit business, but it basically covers everything else. So, for around $1,400, $1,500, if you go on our Costa Rica program, when you get there, our coordinator, Federico, meets you and shepherds you throughout the week, right? And your $1,400 has paid his salary, your accommodations, the food, and the project materials. Now, when we have groups of
Mm,
10 people, we're not building a hospital, we're not building a school, we're doing small scale projects. When we're in Guatemala putting in concrete homes in the house for single moms, these are
ah,
not 6,000 square foot homes. These are tiny little 600 square feet homes, right? These are small scale projects where we are really getting to know the people that we're serving alongside. So when we have big groups, 250 people, you multiply that $1,400 times 250 people, we can do a lot more. But
gotcha.
so it does cover everything. But look, you're not staying at the Ritz, and if somebody wants to travel where they're staying at the Ritz and they're spending every day on the beach and they're eating at chain restaurants, this is not a program for you, right? This is a
I
program for
love it.
somebody who's willing to know that there are going to be some unexpected things that happen. If it starts raining in Costa Rica and you're out working on a project outside, the people you're working on alongside, they're going to go in for a coffee. And you've got to be willing to know that, hey, I'm going to have to adjust my expectations of productivity based on what the local community is doing too, right? So yes, that does cover. It just doesn't cover airfare. But again, you've got to be willing to know that, hey, you're not going to be eating steak and lobster. You're going to be eating the local style food that is made with tourists in mind in terms of safety and risk, and we're serving bottled water, but you're not going to be served. Uh, yeah, this isn't going to Chili's. So it's a more local way of doing things, but it
Hey,
is.
if you go to Guatemala and you look for a Chili's, you shouldn't be going to Guatemala.
I agree with you. I agree with you. And I know this isn't a project for everyone, and we have projects that just are not a good fit for people. I mean, if someone has asthma and breathing issues, I think they should think twice about going to Peru. We're at 13,000 feet. This is not an easy place to operate in. So
Oh,
those are
trust me,
the
I did.
yeah.
I was in La Paz for a month, and holy mackerel, in Bolivia, La Paz. And as soon as they opened the airplane door, I
You could
was like,
feel it.
oh, I was
You
sick
could feel it.
immediately. Boom.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I was sucking down the coca tea like you can't believe.
Yes.
I called my boss and I said, "Look, when I come back, I'm going to fail a cocaine test.
Yeah, because of all the
If
cocoa.
you test me, I'm going to fail it because I had this. I mean, it's legal there, right? It is
Right.
made out of coca leaves, so you will fail a cocaine test. But that's the only thing that got me through was that coca tea.
The coca tea, and everybody offers it to you. Everywhere you
They
go, and it
do.
does help with altitude sickness. So it
Oh,
makes
it's
sense.
fantastic. It's the only way I got it. I got through it. Now, after a week or so, I was pretty climatized, right? But still, you couldn't walk a flight of stairs without sucking
Right.
wind because you're,
Yeah,
like you
and
said, 13,000 feet.
we find ourselves fighting that more than anything. People land in a beautiful location like Cusco, Peru, and see the mountains around them. So it can be misleading in terms of how high you actually are, since there are mountains even higher. And you want to go climb those mountains, and people are wanting to drink the local beer. And that combination of lots of activity and drinking alcohol when you're at a new altitude is a bad
It's a
combination. And
bad idea.
our coordinators are there walking our volunteers through it. So that's part of what you get is this shepherded experience, so that there's some guardrails there to help keep everybody safe.
Yeah.
You
So where
know,
are all the places that you guys are working? I mean, you got 26 going on, but you don't have to name all 26. But
right.
where are you guys operating?
Largely, yeah, largely Latin America, Southeast Asia, and in larger parts of Africa. We're not in Nigeria, but we're in quite a few countries around Africa. Only Romania and Eastern Europe. And we
Okay.
have a program in Puerto Rico and Cuba and so on. But really, Southeast Asia, Latin America, and Africa are kind of our biggest areas. And those also, hey, Michael, they shift. If a country suffers some really dangerous disease outbreak, we pause that program. Uh,
Right. Right.
and we have reasons where a project will. I have to say, we used to have a program on outside of Beijing in China, and after COVID, January of 2020, that program closed, and we've never reopened it. Don't know if we ever will. So that
Yeah.
things are always shifting and coming off and online based on a whole variety of factors. And then there are certain places that have just never, like Costa Rica and Peru. Those are two perennially, they're always perennially favorites for all of our travelers for very
Yeah.
good reasons. So, and
Yeah.
there are a lot of moving aspects to this because the currency is always changing. Ours is always changing. We've had a real weakness to the dollar over the last few months, and that impacts how we do things. So, uh, there are a lot of factors that go into making a program or project work. And obviously, it's our coordinators in the field that are really driving everything, right? They're the ones who are maintaining the relationships in the community to make sure that our projects are actually what are being asked for and wanted and done locally with local materials in the way that they're wanting them done because we aren't heroes. Again, we are there as partners.
So how do you do the shifts, right? I mean, are you always actively looking for what could be next, or something on deck, or are locations or organizations reaching out to you and saying, "Hey, look, put us on your list if you can get to us to come in here"? How
Yes
does that work?
to all of that. Yes to all of that because we have, our Guatemala program where we've got a pretty good rhythm. There's such a backlog of people wanting the homes that we're doing that we know there what project we're going to be doing. And then we have other countries where our coordinator is working with some grassroots. It might be a women's cooperative that said, "Hey, to this month we're looking for a place to build to sell our goods, like a covered marketplace. And next month we're wanting this." So in some countries we have a list of priorities, and in others we're continually doing things. We used to go out and look for projects. Now usually those communities and projects will come to us, and so it will
Yeah,
come to
that's
us
good.
to go through the list of criteria we have. So for example, we won't accept projects where we can't obviously tell that there is a needy community with a genuine need. So if somebody comes to us and says, "Hey, well, we want a jacuzzi installed in each person's home for water therapy," we do have some criteria that we put it through. It's got to be safe. It's got to be culturally interesting and meaningful. If we're just gonna put mail outs in envelopes or paint a room by ourselves in a community, nothing's happening there. There's no engagement. So we do have lists of criteria that we have to run things through. But it's got to be community driven first and foremost. And here we are, and we're trying to be about empathy, problem solving, and cultural agility, and skills that people in all cultures are hopefully
Yeah,
getting something out of. So
yeah,
our projects really need to tie into that and really create a chain reaction so that there is a confidence in our host community in terms of what we're doing and an awareness for the volunteer and something that's going to create this long-term advocacy and philanthropy for the everyone involved.
yeah.
That
That makes
really,
total sense. Yeah, you don't need a contractor getting free labor out of you guys somewhere, right?
right.
Building whatever,
Right. I mean, we
whatever
do
the hell it's doing.
hire a lot of local, when we're
Sure, I'm sure you do,
mixing
but
concrete, we have local foremen because they know the right, density and moisture level of I don't know that. We don't expect our volunteers to know that. We have to hire locals who do that.
yeah, pouring concrete at 13,000 feet is a bit different than sea
Yeah.
level.
Yeah.
I'm sure. I'm
Yeah.
sure there's something different there. I'm sure that I would figure that out after I poured it and went, this doesn't seem to be working. I go, maybe physics has something to do with it. I don't know. I don't know. So you have all these things. An organization can go, look, I got 15 people. We want to do a retreat. We want to do something cool. Love what you guys are doing. What do you got for us?
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
And then you could say, okay, maybe you got something on the list somewhere, and you go, okay, look, boom, this project that's been sitting here waiting and asking for us, we got the right people, and here we go. Right? Is
Yeah.
that kind of how it works?
Yeah, that's kind of how it works, but it also can be specifically more mission driven. And I'll give you an example. So, Vivint has done many big programs with us, and their home automation they found was particularly valuable to families that had special needs kids. They were able to monitor and know what those special needs kids were doing throughout the day. And so they decided they had been doing our regular program work, but they asked if we were able to plug into that and work specifically um, with them for special needs kids in our various locations around the world. And so we went and specifically worked within our communities to find projects that would tie into that specific mission. So if
Yeah.
we have enough time and ability, we will try and really tailor that project and that program to the specific mission, as long as it's in alignment with our values, to carry out the work that is particularly meaningful to that particular volunteer group. But more ordinarily, our groups will call us with a similar question to what you just said. Hey, I've got a group of 15 people with this amount of time off, and what kinds of projects can we do that would fit in with that? And And some things make it easy, in terms of, we know where the airfare is going to be cheaper, and we're not having to worry about time zone differences, and where more people are likely to go. Our Mexico program is so accessible that it makes it really easy for larger groups to do. But yes, any and all of that, because we will get those questions where people are wanting to talk through it. And then we'll get questions where we're like, okay, we're going to tailor this specifically to what your group is hoping for.
That is fantastic stuff. So you've been doing this for how long now? This
25
global,
years.
25 years. So how I get your why, but what was the spark that made you go, this is my why?
Well, so my background, academically and career-wise, had been related to international business my whole life, and
Yeah.
I would be in places over the weekend that I had already done all the tourist sites for, and I started wanting to serve. And when I would go and call the groups you might think of about, hey, can I just volunteer for a couple of days on this? Can I just do? I was surprised that nobody really wants you short term, because the amount of time you got to take somebody off of whatever they're actively doing to supervise you and to teach you. It's sort of like an intern. I try and tell my kids, anybody willing to give you an internship, that is a favor. You should be paying them, because it takes time to set up an internship and to oversee. And so I recognize that it was really hard for any of the local groups where I was to try and shepherd me through something. So I started going to individuals and groups and saying, hey, what kind of things do you need? What can I do? How can I work with you? And just on this very individual, small scale, started doing things. And when I came home, I couldn't believe how many people were interested and said, hey, the next time you go do that, can I go with you?
Oh,
And
wow.
that's when I realized, oh, I'm not the only one getting something out of this. I'm not the only one thinking, hey, there are people living in a cubicle in this dog eat dog world without that chance, that spark that unites us, and that does it so effectively. And so that was really the spark. That's what led to it. When I realized
Wow.
other people would want to do it too. That really wasn't all that unique, And a
Yeah.
lot of people feel that.
And then you just started.
And
So
so
you said,
then,
I'm going out and doing global wear.
yeah, yeah. After a couple of years, by 2003, I quit all my other prior work and was doing nothing but this. We got our 501c3 certification in 2003. Our Canadian charity status was probably 2007. It was a few years later. But so we're almost all of our volunteers effectively are from North America because of that, because of our charitable status with those two countries. And while I don't think anyone specifically seeks us out for those reasons, it does come with a tax advantage
Yeah.
against your income, but that's not
That's certainly
why.
helpful. That, yeah, it's helpful in motivating people and getting them and getting them involved.
One
There's no
other
doubt about that.
extra aspect of sustainability for it, really, of that conscious capitalism. Yeah.
This is fantastic. I love what you guys are doing. Is there where are people going to seek this out? Where companies go? Everybody go to the same place, whether you're an individual or a group or a corporation.
Literally all over the globe. Literally.
Yeah, but I mean, where are they going to engage with you to say, "Hey, I'm interested in this. Get me some more information."
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, please. Our website, of course, globalware.org. But, we have a pretty substantial presence with social media, with Facebook in particular. But we certainly were on Instagram as Globalware. And we have a podcast named Globalware that, even if you're not wanting to serve, you can go and listen to, how do I go and fill out my visa for Vietnam? I mean, we've got all sorts of little videos just for people looking to travel and learn about how to do things. So we've got our Facebook channel, our podcast, all the regular social media, our website, our phone number, 214-824-4562. We're in all the places,
Yeah. You're very, very, very accessible. Kimberly, I love what you guys are doing. And like I said before, I can't decide whether this should go out on Sustainiacs or you be the solution, universal benevolence. And it's both. It's fantastic what you guys are doing there. And I really love it. I really appreciate you coming on the show and talking about this.
Michael, you're the greatest, and I'm so grateful that you let me be on your show. So thank you so much.
Oh gosh, come on now. Don't keep playing that up. That was a ridiculous thing that I said. Everybody, peace and love. Thank you for downloading and tuning into Sustainiacs and hey, Universal Benevolence. She is she's awesome. I'm not the awesome. Kimberly, thank you so much. Peace and love, everybody.
Thank you so much.